Ever wondered what it really takes to make those heart-stopping action scenes we all love? Behind every explosion, every jump, every bullet fired, there's a story of real danger. In these 10 legendary American classics, the actors didn't just play heroes, they became them, risking their lives for the perfect shot. From the Terminator to Top Gun, these moments pushed courage to the edge. If you love raw, fearless filmmaking, don't just watch, like, share, and subscribe to keep the action alive. 1. The Terminator, 1984. A cyborg assassin travels through time to kill the mother of humanity's savior, but behind the machine's cold eyes, real danger pulsed through every frame. What would you risk to create a legend? Before Hollywood was ruled by CGI, everything had to be real. The fire, the crashes, the smoke, the blood, all tangible, all risky. On the set of The Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't just acting, he was walking through chaos. Dressed head to toe in leather, metal, and heavy prosthetics, he faced explosions that could melt paint off a car. His skin blistered from heat, his vision blurred behind those red-tinted contacts, and his body moved like an unstoppable machine, because he had no choice. The camera rolled, and every take came with the sting of real danger. Picture this: the night streets of Los Angeles, soaked in rain and neon light, the air trembling with gunfire. Arnold strides through the flames, shotgun in hand, the reflection of fire dancing on his half-burned face. No digital safety net, no retakes if something went wrong. Every second could have been his last. That's not just acting, that's commitment on the edge of madness. And it paid off. The scene became one of the most iconic in cinema history. A moment where fear, pain, and power fused into one timeless image. But here's something many fans don't know. During one of the fiery sequences, Arnold's costume caught heat so intensely that it nearly burned through to his skin. Crew members rushed in between takes to cool him down, while he just smiled and said, "Let's go again." Can you imagine that level of focus? No stunt double, no shortcuts, just a man, a mission, and a camera. That's what made The Terminator immortal, not just the story of man versus machine, but the sheer human grit behind it. And maybe that's why, decades later, the line, "I'll be back," still sends chills down our spines. It wasn't just a script line. It was a promise, from Arnold, from the filmmakers, from every person who risked it all to bring that world to life. So what about you? Do you think today's actors could endure that kind of intensity? Would you step into fire for your craft? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. And hey, if you love stories of fearless filmmaking, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're heading into the jungle for another legend who pushed danger even further. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. 2. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. An archaeologist with a whip, a hat, and nerves of steel races through jungles, tombs, and traps in search of the Ark of the Covenant, but not all the danger stayed in the script. Sometimes, the line between movie magic and real pain is razor thin. If The Terminator was about fire and fury, Indiana Jones was about chaos and chance. Harrison Ford didn't just play the world's coolest adventurer, he lived him. The movie was a symphony of danger, rolling boulders, venomous snakes, crashing trucks, and death-defying stunts that would make any sane actor think twice. But Ford wasn't like everyone else. He believed the audience could feel authenticity, could see when an actor truly risked it all, and he wasn't wrong. One of the most brutal moments came during the legendary truck chase. You've seen it. Indy clings to the front of a speeding Nazi truck, then slides underneath, dragging along the dirt as bullets fly overhead. What most fans don't know is that this wasn't CGI. And it wasn't safe. Ford performed nearly the entire sequence himself, even after a stunt went wrong, and the massive truck's tire rolled across his knee. He winced, shook it off, and finished the scene. No stunt double could have done it better, because that pain, that grit, that realness burned right into the film. And it didn't stop there. The famous scene in Cairo, where Indy faces off with the sword-wielding assassin, wasn't even scripted that way. Ford was running a fever, nearly collapsing from food poisoning. And instead of performing the long choreographed fight, he just pulled his gun and shot the guy. The exhaustion on his face? 100% real. And that spur-of-the-moment decision became one of the most iconic moments in film history. Sometimes, accidents create legends. That's the beauty of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Danger wasn't an illusion. It was the heartbeat of the film. You could feel it in every frame. Every scrape of dirt, every drop of sweat. Harrison Ford didn't just act, he survived. And that's why, even today, Indiana Jones isn't just a character. He's a symbol of reckless courage that movies rarely capture anymore. What do you think? Are today's action heroes too protected by technology? Would you rather see raw, risky stunts or safe, polished effects? Let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying these behind-the-scenes legends of danger and devotion, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're stepping into a skyscraper under siege, where bullets, glass, and blood made one cop a cinematic icon. Die Hard, 1988. 3. Die Hard, 1988. A lone cop trapped in a skyscraper full of terrorists fights to survive, but what nearly killed him wasn't just the villains on screen. It was the violence behind the camera. 2. Ready to step off the edge with John McClane? After the wild jungles and dusty tombs of Indiana Jones, we land in something colder: steel, glass, and blood. Die Hard wasn't just another 80s action flick, it redefined what danger felt like. It was raw, claustrophobic, and brutally real. Bruce Willis didn't walk onto that set as a megastar, he became one through sweat, bruises, and near disaster. Every shattered window, every explosion in Nakatomi Plaza was done for real, and the man himself was right in the middle of it. The most shocking moment? That famous fall from the top of the building. When McClane leaps off with the fire hose tied around his waist. That wasn't a full CGI trick, it was a real stunt. Filmed with controlled explosions, wind machines, and terrifying heights. The drop was so convincing that Bruce actually screamed for real, not because it was scripted, but because his body forgot it was acting. His expression of sheer panic? 100% authentic. But the stunt that almost changed everything was during the gunfight sequences. One miscalculated charge from the blanks, just one, left Willis with permanent hearing damage. Imagine that. You walk into a movie as an actor, and you walk out with part of your hearing gone forever. Yet Bruce didn't quit. He didn't even slow down. He became McClane, tired, bleeding, furious, but unbreakable. That's what made Die Hard so human. It wasn't a superhero film. It was a story of a regular man pushed to his limit. Crawling through glass, fighting barefoot, bleeding for every victory. You could feel his pain, because it wasn't fake. Every bruise, every scream carried the weight of something real happening on that set. It makes you wonder, do today's action movies still have that kind of authenticity? Or has green screen magic taken away the soul of danger? Drop your thoughts below. I'm curious where you stand. And hey, if you're loving this dive into the chaos behind the classics, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're heading into the heart of war, where one man fought through explosions, gunfire, and jungle madness in Rambo. First Blood Part 2, 1985. Trust me, the danger only gets louder from here. 4. Rambo. First Blood Part 2, 1985. A lone soldier returns to the jungle, haunted by war yet drawn back into it, but this time, the explosions weren't all pretend. When the cameras rolled, the line between acting and survival blurred. After the brutal chaos of Die Hard, the world of Rambo felt even wilder, a storm of fire, mud, and bullets. Sylvester Stallone wasn't just making a sequel, he was stepping into a war zone disguised as a film set. Every explosion you see, every wave of fire that lights up the jungle, those were real detonations. The kind that make your chest rattle and your ears ring long after the smoke clears. There's one moment fans never forget. Rambo charging through the jungle with gunfire raining down around him. What most don't know is that during one of those takes, a pyrotechnic charge went off too early, right in front of Stallone. The blast sent debris and heat across his face, leaving him dazed and bleeding. For a few terrifying seconds, everyone thought he was gone. But minutes later, He stood back up, wiped the blood from his cheek, and said, "Let's finish this." That's not movie heroism. That's the kind of madness that makes legends. Stallone later admitted that the filming was the most punishing experience of his life. He was running on pure adrenaline, surrounded by live explosions, crawling through muddy pits while holding heavy machine guns that kicked like real beasts. The sweat wasn't makeup. The screams weren't rehearsed, they came from the gut. Watching him in that film, you don't just see an actor. You see a man pushing through pain. Both real and remembered. Maybe that's why Rambo: First Blood Part 2 hits harder than other war movies. It's not polished or pretty, it's raw, desperate, and loud. The jungle itself feels alive, like it's ready to swallow him whole. And Stallone, scarred and unyielding, becomes a symbol of that fight, man versus everything. Tell me this. When you watch movies today, do you feel that same pulse? That sense that what you're seeing might have actually happened? Or have we lost something to safety and digital perfection? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if stories of fearless filmmaking light a spark in you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're trading jungles for the sky. Get ready for roaring engines, dizzying heights, and tragedy that hit too close to home in Top Gun, 1986. The danger's about to take flight. 5. Top Gun, 1986. A fearless pilot soars through the skies, chasing glory, danger, and ghosts at Mach speed, but some of those flights never landed. Sometimes, the price of greatness is too high to measure. After the explosions and chaos of Rambo, Top Gun took danger to the air, where one wrong move meant no second take. This wasn't just a movie about fighter pilots, it was a film made by adrenaline junkies, dreamers, and daredevils who truly lived on the edge. Every roar of the jet, every dizzying roll, every dive toward the ocean wasn't digital trickery. It was real metal, real wind, and real risk. Tom Cruise, young, wild, and determined to make his mark, refused to settle for safety. He wanted audiences to feel what it meant to fly at death's doorstep. So he did it for real. Sitting inside an F-14 Tomcat, he endured G-forces that crushed his chest and blurred his vision. The horizon spinning into chaos. When you watch Maverick grin through that cockpit glass, that's not acting. That's raw adrenaline coursing through his veins. But not everyone walked away. During the filming of an aerial sequence, stunt pilot Art Scholl took his plane up for a roll that was meant to capture the perfect, flat spin shot. Something went wrong. The aircraft spiraled out of control and vanished beneath the waves. The wreckage was never found. The movie was dedicated to his memory. A chilling reminder that sometimes the dream costs more than anyone expects. Top Gun isn't just a story of speed and swagger. It's about the people who risked everything to show us what freedom looks like above the clouds. When you hear the engines roar, it's not just sound design, it's a tribute to the real pilots, the cameramen, and the stunt teams who flew into the unknown to capture that feeling. Watching it today, you can almost feel the sky pull you in. The sun flashing off the wings. The thunder of jet engines shaking your chest. It's not just cinema. It's immersion through danger. So here's the question. Do you think movies today still dare to reach that level of realism? Would you take that flight if it meant risking everything for art? Let me know in the comments below. And if this kind of fearless filmmaking still gives you chills, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're leaving the sky for the streets, where chaos, cars, and comedy collided in the Blues Brothers, 1980. And trust me, the mayhem there was just as real. 6. The Blues Brothers, 1980. Two brothers on a mission from God tear through the streets. Cars flying and chaos erupting everywhere, but some of that mayhem almost turned deadly in real life. Ever wondered how far crazy can go when comedy meets action? Coming off the high-octane flights of Top Gun, we're back on solid ground, but don't let that fool you. The Blues Brothers wasn't just a musical comedy, it was one of the most dangerous productions of its time. John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd weren't dodging bullets or climbing mountains. They were plowing through real streets, smashing cars, and orchestrating crashes that would make modern stunt coordinators sweat. These weren't miniature models or CGI. Every wreck was full scale, full speed, and full risk. Take the opening chase through the shopping mall parking lot. Hundreds of cars were set up to be wrecked, and actors and stunt performers had to thread their vehicles through at precise speed and timing. One miscalculation, and someone could have been crushed. Belushi, fearless as ever, insisted on doing multiple takes himself, barreling his car toward a row of exploding cars while the crew barely managed to get out of the way. He laughed through the chaos. But imagine the tension on set, a single slip, and this scene could have made headlines for all the wrong reasons. And it wasn't just Belushi. The stunt team endured crushing heat, loud explosions, and near collisions at every turn. Some of the cars used for stunts had structural weaknesses after repeated crashes. But the schedule couldn't wait. Every day was a gamble, and somehow, against all odds, they pulled it off. The film's charm comes not only from the jokes and music, but from that electric tension. Knowing these actors and stunt people were truly risking themselves made every stunt pulse with life. Here's a question for you. Do you think the movie would feel as exciting today if they'd used CGI instead? Would the thrill of the Blues Brothers survive a polished, digital remake? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're amazed by the daring behind-the-scenes stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're heading to the wasteland, where explosions, deranged drivers, and unrelenting danger defined the road warrior, Mad Max 2, 1981. Buckle up, because the ride is about to get absolutely wild. 7. The Road Warrior, Mad Max 2, 1981. In a post-apocalyptic wasteland, a lone survivor battles marauders, explosions, and death at every turn, but on set, reality was almost as unforgiving as the desert itself. Can you imagine risking life for cinematic chaos? Following the chaos of the Blues Brothers streets, we now dive into a world where danger is constant, sand burns like fire, and metal screams. The Road Warrior was more than a movie, it was a trial by fire. Mel Gibson navigated through an arid wasteland where every stunt involved high-speed chases over treacherous terrain. With improvised ramps, collapsing vehicles, and live pyrotechnics, no CGI could recreate the intensity of dust, heat, and near-catastrophic collisions. One of the most harrowing moments came during the explosive tanker sequence. Gibson had to weave between speeding vehicles while the tankers staged explosions ignited around him. The timing had to be flawless, even a fraction of a second off. And disaster would have struck. Several stunt performers were injured during rehearsals, and the crew watched in tense silence as Mel executed each take. Sweat mixed with dirt, muscles screamed, but he pressed on, embodying Max's relentless drive. Even the car chases pushed physics to its limits. The vehicles weren't armored beyond what looked good on camera. Suspension failures, rollovers, and close calls were a daily hazard. Mel later admitted that some sequences felt terrifyingly real, with adrenaline peaking to the point where fear and exhilaration became inseparable. Watching him on screen, it's easy to forget how razor-thin the line was between a thrilling stunt and a potential tragedy. The desert's harshness added another layer of peril. Temperatures soared, hydration was critical, and sandstorms threatened to halt production or worse. The entire cast and crew were pushed to their physical and mental limits. Yet their commitment created an atmosphere of authenticity rarely matched in action cinema. The Road Warrior isn't just about post-apocalyptic spectacle, it's about people daring to survive in an unforgiving landscape, both in story and in life. So, here's a question for you. Would you endure real danger to make a film feel alive? Or is safety more important than authenticity? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious what you'd risk for cinematic greatness. And if you're enjoying these behind-the-scenes tales of sheer courage, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're climbing higher than ever. Literally, with Cliffhanger, 1993, where every edge could be the last. Prepare for vertigo and heart-pounding suspense. 8. Cliffhanger, 1993. A mountain rescue expert faces death-defying heights, avalanches, and ruthless criminals, but the real peril wasn't just on screen. Have you ever felt fear so intense it steals your breath? That's exactly what the cast and crew lived through. After surviving the barren wasteland of the Road Warrior, we're moving from scorching deserts to freezing cliffs. Cliffhanger didn't rely on camera tricks to create vertigo, it demanded it. Sylvester Stallone wasn't standing on studio scaffolding with harnesses safely below. He was dangling from sheer rock faces hundreds of feet in the air. Wind whipping against him, icy temperatures biting at his fingers. Every take carried the weight of possibility. One slip and the fall could be fatal. The production pushed boundaries of safety for the sake of authenticity. Many stunts involved live rigs, precarious ledges, and controlled explosions. During the infamous mountain climb sequence, Stallone's harnesses nearly failed on multiple occasions. Crew members held their breath as he inched along narrow footholds, muscles trembling, eyes focused on survival. The danger was palpable, and his performance reflects it. A tension that couldn't have been faked with green screens or CGI. One moment stands out. A stunt double was performing a sequence involving a rope swing over a jagged cliff. But a miscalculation sent him plunging several feet before being caught by the safety system. The cast and crew watched in terror, and it was a stark reminder that in Cliffhanger, fiction and reality were dangerously close. Stallone himself often opted to perform stunts whenever possible, pushing his body to extremes to convey that raw, visceral fear to the audience. Watching Cliffhanger, you feel every shiver from the cold, every gasp of wind, every heartbeat as though you're hanging alongside him. It's more than a movie, it's an experience built on real peril and the courage to face it. Here's a question for you. If you were in Stallone's place, would you dare to perform such deadly stunts? Or would you leave it to doubles? I'd love to see your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes, the bravest stories are the ones we imagine ourselves in. And if the thrill of life on the line filmmaking excites you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're hitting the highways at breakneck speed in Speed, 1994. Where every second counts and danger lurks behind the wheel. Buckle up, the ride is about to get wild. 9. Speed, 1994. A city bus is rigged to explode if it slows below 50 miles per hour. Turning an ordinary commute into a life-or-death sprint, but on set. The danger wasn't just on screen. Have you ever felt tension so real it makes your pulse race? That's exactly what the cast experienced every day. After hanging off icy cliffs in Cliffhanger, we're now hurtling through urban streets where one wrong turn could have ended it all. Speed wasn't just a story about suspense, it was a masterclass in high-octane filmmaking. Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, and the stunt team were constantly battling tight deadlines, moving vehicles, and unpredictable traffic conditions. Every chase sequence had to be meticulously timed, yet the slightest miscalculation could have sent them into real danger. One unforgettable scene involved a bus jumping a gap in an under-construction freeway. Reeves was behind the wheel, with the bus packed with crew and cameras capturing every angle. The stunt was rehearsed hundreds of times, but nothing could fully prepare them for the moment of truth. As the bus hurtled toward the gap, hearts pounded, cameras rolled, and for a split second, the line between fiction and reality vanished. The roar of the engine, the grinding of tires, and the sheer momentum made everyone on set acutely aware that a tiny mistake could have been catastrophic. The production wasn't just about driving fast. Actors performed real maneuvers inside moving vehicles, hanging from doors, and dodging debris. Sandra Bullock has shared how she could feel her stomach drop as the bus swung around corners. Trusting her instincts, the drivers, and the precision of countless rehearsals. The adrenaline wasn't simulated, it was visceral, contagious, and utterly exhausting. Watching Speed, you don't just see the action, you feel it. The tension in Reeves' eyes, the desperation in Bullock's reactions, the heart-thumping pace of the bus, it all comes from the fact that danger was real. And that's what makes the film unforgettable, knowing that the actors risked injury for every pulse-pounding second. So here's a question for you. Would you dare to ride that bus if it meant risking everything for a perfect take? Would you push yourself to the edge for a story that people would never forget? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take on courage and commitment. And if you're loving these incredible tales of fear and bravery, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because next, we're heading into an all-time classic buddy cop finale with Lethal Weapon, 1987. Where bullets, chaos, and brotherhood collide in ways you'll never forget. 10. Lethal Weapon, 1987. Two detectives, one explosive partnership, and a city crawling with danger, but some of the real threats weren't scripted at all. Can you feel the tension building already? Because on this set, every scene carried a pulse of genuine risk. After hurtling through the streets in speed, the action slows just enough to let you catch your breath, but the stakes are no less deadly. Lethal Weapon thrived on its unpredictable energy, blending bullets, car chases, and hand-to-hand combat in ways that often left the actors on the edge of injury. Mel Gibson and Danny Glover weren't just portraying risk, they were dancing with it. From precarious rooftop fights to explosive confrontations, every movement demanded precision, timing, and nerve. One particularly harrowing sequence involved a rooftop shootout where Mel Gibson had to leap across narrow ledges with a heavy prop gun. Dodging pyrotechnics that were inches away, stunt coordinators controlled the chaos as carefully as possible, but no amount of preparation could erase the edge of your seat tension. Glover's reactions, often improvised, added authenticity that made the danger feel real, because it was. Even a slight misstep could have led to serious injury. And then there's the explosive car scene, a moment that seems effortless on screen but was terrifying behind the camera. Cars slammed, sparks flew, and actors were mere feet from controlled detonations. Mel Gibson has admitted that he felt every heartbeat, every vibration, every surge of adrenaline, yet the scenes were repeated multiple times to get them perfect. The risk was tangible, the fear real, and the result cinematic brilliance. What makes Lethal Weapon unforgettable isn't just the action, it's the chemistry and courage of the actors. The willingness to embrace danger for the story, and the tension that keeps audiences on the edge of their seats decades later. Watching it today, you can almost feel yourself in the chaos, caught between laughter, suspense, and amazement at what these performers endured. Here's a question for you. Knowing what these actors went through, does it change how you see their performances? Would you risk yourself for that level of realism? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective on bravery, film, and the cost of making magic on screen. And if you've enjoyed this journey through heart-stopping moments in cinema, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because remembering these stories reminds us that behind every explosion, stunt, and daring scene, real courage made the movies legendary. And there you have it, 10 unforgettable action classics where the danger wasn't just on screen. It was real, from blazing explosions to death-defying stunts. These actors didn't just perform, they risked it all for our thrill and awe. Which of these jaw-dropping moments shocked you the most? Did any scene make your heart stop like it did theirs? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's relive the adrenaline together. If you loved this deep dive into Hollywood's boldest, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The adventure doesn't have to end here.